Hello and welcome to another episode of GameHammer Daily. Today we've got something a little bit different for you and we're looking at a new console as well. So let's get straight into it with a look at Binary Land. Who doesn't like a good old love story? You've heard this tale before, no doubt. Penguin meets penguin, penguin loses penguin. Penguins traverse a maze of blocks battling spiders to find one another again and reclaim their lost hearts, which are entombed in some kind of cage. It's a tale as old as time. Well, okay, maybe it's not, but it does make for a rather snazzy little puzzle game, so let's take a look at it today. We'll be covering 3 versions of the game to find out which one is the best version. And we'll start with the Nintendo Entertainment System version because it's the one that most people who've played this game and who are watching this video will be the most familiar with. This is a bright and colourful game on the NES with lovely sounds and fluid controls. Everything just works so well and it's a joy to play. Your penguins are really cute, and while I had a lot of fun playing it, so much so that I thought I might end up having to delay this review because I was playing it so long I might not have been able to record this voiceover in the evening, I do have to wonder about the logistics of getting that bow to stay on the head of the female penguin. Did she glue it to her feathers, or did she have to spend hours painstakingly tying it in place with her flippers? It really doesn't make much sense, let's face it. There are 99 levels in this game, and I will admit I didn't get to the end of all of them, but I'll probably come back to the game at a later date, so I'll give it another try then. Once you get the hang of the fact that the controls are reversed for whichever character is not the primary character that you selected at the start of the game, you'll have a great time playing this game. If you have a NES or a NES emulator, give this game a try. It's brilliant. But it's not the only version, and in fact, it's not even the original version. So let's move on and have a look at the MSX version. Now, for MSX users, their 1983 incarnation of Binary Land has a few differences to the NES version, which will come along 2 years after this one came out. For one, the penguins are gone, and now it's 2 generic kids in their place. The core gameplay is still here, but the graphics are decidedly less refined, which can of course be excused as this is an earlier version of the game. I don't know if the MSX version is the original or a conversion from another system, as I can't find that data online, but it was released in the same year as versions for the FM7 plus the NEC PC 6001 and PC 8801, so it's possible that one of those was the original. Either way, the MSX version is the earliest version of the game that we will be looking at today, so while its graphics may not be the greatest, the gameplay, well, that's all here, and it's definitely what counts. But here's the thing, some of the levels are different to those on the NES. It's still a great game with decent controls and a good soundtrack, but here's the thing, when there are more than a couple of enemies on the screen, you have to expect this version to slow down significantly, which is quite a downside when compared to the NES version. Still, if you can get past that problem, and I think you should, and you want a fun action puzzle game for your MSX, then Binary Land is definitely one to consider picking up. The flaws are minor compared to how fun the game is to play. But it's not the last version that we're going to have a look at today because, strangely enough, there is another version, and it's actually the one that first turned me onto this game. So let's have a look at the N-Joypad version. I don't believe we've covered the N-Joypad on the show before, but there's a first time for everything, so here we go. This is a Famiclone, and it's actually a rather good one, despite its ridiculous attempt to mimic the look and feel of the original PlayStation. The console contains 50 built-in games, but you can only access them in batches, and those batches are selected by inserting plastic discs that are supposed to mimic CDs. There's absolutely no data on any of these discs, because they're solely here to press down a combination of buttons under the CD tray lid. The buttons tell the Famiclone chips which ROMs to load. Each game on the Njoypad is a ROM hack of a Famicom game, with different graphics different names and sometimes modify gameplay. The ROM hack of Donkey Kong, for example, starts on level 3, and no, I have no idea why anyone would think that was a good idea either. Anyway, Binary Land is included on the Njoypad, where it has been given the name Mars Man. Again, I have no idea why. The game functions exactly like the NES version, and it's a lot of fun to play. It's actually the version that I first encountered Binary Land in, as I said, and I was amazed when I first played it because it's instantly a lot of fun. The graphics aren't great, but the gameplay is all here, and it's still great fun to play. The only odd thing about this ROM hack is that both characters have been changed to men on this version, instead of keeping the penguins from the original NES version. The imagery on the victory screen, however, hasn't been changed, so while the original version had 2 penguins in love, and the MSX version has a boy and girl in love, the N-Joypad version has 2 gay men. Sometimes ROM hacks have unintended consequences, don't they? Still, the game itself is intact, and it's still great fun to play. Despite the cheap-feeling joypad that comes with this family clone, you will have a lot of fun playing this. If you get a chance to pick up an N-Joypad for cheap, I recommend you do it, because these 50 games are actually pretty good. Despite its altered graphics and weird names, the games on this console are really good, this one especially. So, in conclusion, some games are fun by design, and Binary Land is one of them. At its heart, this is a very basic action puzzle game, but despite its oddball dual yet mirrored control system, it keeps things simple, or simple enough anyway, to not overwhelm you. The game is reasonably fast paced, and it keeps changing things up in its level design just enough to stop the concept behind the game overstaying its welcome. Whether you're playing the NES or the Njoypad version, you'll get much of the same experience because they are very much the same game. I prefer the graphics on the NES original version to the ROM hack version, but you'll have a great time whichever version you play. The MSX version is a slightly poorer outing compared to the NES one, and the occasional bout of slowdown does hamper the game a little bit, but in the end, the core gameplay will still win out. It's worth playing on either version, and you'll have a great time whichever version you end up going with. But if you do have the choice, I'd recommend the NES cart over the MSX one. And there you are. I first came across this, as I said, on the Njoypad. It's a weird console, and I didn't expect much from it when I first picked it up, but actually it's got 50 NES games on it. The ROM hacked, and I think for £2.50 I got a good deal with that console. But Mars Man, as it is on there, Binary Land, as everyone else knows it, turned out to be one of my favourite games that I've found this year. So I'm really happy to have picked it up, and I think if you get a chance to play Binary Land, take that chance, because you might like it too, especially if you're a fan of puzzle action games. Anyway, that's all we've really got time for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you did like this, and if you did, remember to click that like button. It really does help the show out as well if you'll share this with your friends, and then they'll see a good game when they see it as well. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. If you liked today's video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you.